Morning, YouTube world. I'm back. I have picked up the steering box. It is now Thursday. I ended up picking it up Wednesday instead of Monday. I live in the 9 Mile area, which is a suburb of, or kind of a suburb of Spokane area. We basically had fires go around both sides of us out here at the lake, and we were on kind of lockdown. We were technically supposed to evacuate, but the evacuation notice that we got was a little confusing. The street address, they were using street addresses and then actually using the lake as part of the boundary line. And well, I didn't get it figured out till after it was too late. And at that point, I'm staying here, but I was ready to go if I needed to. And then the next morning, they downgraded us, at least this part, because the fire went the opposite direction due to the winds Saturday. So Saturday, I pulled the steering box, and about 3-4 hours later, we lost power, and the wildfire blew through here is basically what happened. And then yesterday, we had another fire start on the kind of to the northwest of us. So we had a smaller fire go to the northwest of us yesterday, and a large fire go through down the road from us by about 5 miles. Come through and basically burn down a good chunk of the Spokane side of 9 Mile. It actually jumped the river or the lake and is currently burning the other side of 9 Mile, working its way across, heading kind of like a northeast pattern. No power for 3 days. Road closures. Getting out of here is extremely difficult. It's doable if you know the back roads. So basically stayed local, didn't go anywhere, took care of the properties out here, and kept an eye on the fires. Wednesday, everything seemed to be calming down, nothing new, nothing major. Needed to go kind of grab some groceries, and figure since it's a pain in the butt to get out, I might as well run out all the way out to Redhead Steering. About the afternoon on our way home, lost power again, and another fire. Is what it is. So I'll show you what I have for the power steering, or well, it's not a power steering box, manual steering box. I'll show you what you get from Redhead Steering and discuss it, and then I'll tell you why I went with Redhead Steering. And yeah, it's not cheap. So let me flip the camera around and I'll show you what we got. All right, so you should have the same, looks identical except it's now freshly painted, black with a red top. It's all paint, nothing special there. They throw on a Made in the USA sticker, cool. They throw it in a box. They have bench test it, so it's pre-filled with liquid. They bench test it, do all the preload and everything, and then they mark it, make sure this basically to see if you have any warranty issues, the tampering of it. So they like to fill a flathead screw. So to adjust preload on this, you would break this nut loose, put a flathead screwdriver in there, and turn this in or out depending on which way you need to go, and then lock down the lock nut. So they obviously paint the top of the cap, paint the nut for the mark there. There's your screw, and then they fill in the screw so they could tell if you've been tampering or not. My advice, after reviewing Redhead and everything online, would be when you get a new box from them, take pictures of what your box looks like and your marks before you install it, in case you do happen to have any issues. This happens to be the fill plug. It is pre-filled. Tag basically says, this is what the tag says. It's upside down, I understand, but basically it's been bench tested. Any adjustment avoids the warranty. This box is a Gimmer 24JC06. Gimmer is the manufacturer. TRW later acquired them, so sometimes you'll have the TRW instead of Gimmer, but you'll still have the 24JC06. There is also a JC05, a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. The 6 is for the F100s. The 05 is for the Bronco. It looks identical. I don't know exactly what the difference is between the 05 and the 06, but the pictures make them look pretty much identical. International, like the Scouts and stuff, also use this box. It's a different number. The shaft coming out where it attaches to the steering column is longer on the Internationals, at least the ones I saw. So why did I go Redhead? One, they're local. They're only an hour drive from me. So I am in 9 miles. They're in Post Falls. They're local. They have a 1-year unlimited mile warranty. If you're a local guy, they do like a kind of like a pro rate for you. And if you have an issue or anything like that, you could bring them the box. Bring them the box and they'll go through it, find the part that's wrong. You pay for the part. You don't have to pay for the labor, and they fix your box for you. And they'll do that for up to 5 years. So that's kind of the convenience. The other reason I picked them is I called them. They had 6 in stock. This box on their website is on their website. But it's under a 67 through 69 F100. And then you tell it no power steering, and it's 4x4. That's how you get to this box. It's an H7104. I don't know why their catalog is so narrow, because technically this box is supposed to be 66 through 75. Though I've seen some catalogs say, I think, up to 77. I don't know how accurate that is, but that's only for the F100s. 250s are a different story. This box, $595 with the core exchange. If you have to order it and send your core back, it's an additional $300. Seems awful expensive. Problem is nobody else was any really cheaper. Nobody else really had it in stock. Lear's Steering Company, I think they also do brakes. Lear's or Lares, Lares, I believe. They offer steering box, like I said earlier in the video. Rock Auto supposedly had one, but I didn't want to deal with shipping it back and forth, and I really don't want to deal with Rock Auto for any kind of warranty issues. The Lares does have a better warranty, but you're just stuck dealing with Rock Auto for their warranty issues. And so either you pay for it again, send back the other one. When they get it back, they refund it, but there's no guarantees that they're going to have another one later down the road, because they only show one in stock. So the other option is rebuild the one that I had. Well, I could find a rebuild kit. Cornbinder.com has a rebuild kit listed. It may be aimed more at the international side. A1 Shock Company, weird that a shock company has master rebuild kits for steering boxes, but they do. Their master steering box rebuild kit for this steering box, $429 before shipping. If I'm going to pay $429 to buy a kit to rebuild this, why not just spend the extra $200 and let Redhead do it? And that's basically what I did. Now, I could find listings for the upper seal down, or the upper seal up in here, or the input shaft seal, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I could find a seal listing number for the pitman arm shaft. This is a paper gasket, but it looks like Redhead just uses probably the right stuff. I didn't want bearings, pull the bearings out, try to find part numbers on the bearings, measure the IOD, the ID, and everything else, and try to match up bearings and make multiple trips. I figured, can I rebuild this for less than a $429 kit? Probably. How long is it going to take me to do it, though? And how many trips to the store am I going to do? And then back and forth and running down bearings and everything else. Kit would be easy, but at $429 for the kit, you might as well just go ahead and do the steering box. So this is what I had chose to do. I did the Gimmer steering box. or the rebuilt steering box from Redhead. I did it because they're local. And now it's just a matter of putting it all back together. Hopefully it only takes me 15 minutes like it did to take it apart. And basically I'll pause here and I'll let you all know when I have it back together. But this is what you get. Just thrown in a box, for me anyways, because I picked it up at the store. I'm hoping they box it better when they ship it to you, if you have to ship it, order it. But nice people, great location. They got some cool merch. Unfortunately, they didn't have the hat in the with the logo that I like and the size that I wear. But there we are. If I can ever find a rebuild kit for cheaper than $4.29, and I could get my hands on another box, I'll attempt to rebuild one just for giggles. But here you are, the 67 through 69 box that's going to go on a 66, because, well, it's the same part number. That's what the part number on my old box. Alright, I'll pause and come back. Alright, got the install all done. Install takes about double the time it does to remove. So I think it took me, we'll say 15-20 minutes for removal. It took me about 30 minutes to 40 minutes, 45 minutes for the reinstall. The hardest part about the reinstall is lining up all the splines and making sure that they're centered. The pitman arm shaft is got a 4-way keyway. You could put the pitman arm on 4 different ways. Obviously you want to put it on the correct way so everything bolts together. And then the input shaft from the steering column, steering wheel is also splined and then has a indentation in the input shaft for the cross bolt to go through, and that's what clamps the splines and locks the steering column to the input shaft. I'll flip the camera around, allow you and show you kind of walk you through what I did. Honestly, I didn't have to jack the truck up. Pro tip is make sure you have your steering wheel centered before you start, which I did, or kind of did. Kind of hard to get this thing centered when there's so much play in the steering wheel. But make sure that kind of get the eyeball it, make sure the wheels are pointing straight. That'll help you with the pitman installation when you put it back together. So I'll flip the camera around. Alright, all new, shiny, brand new parts installed. So for install is basically hold the box up in here, kind of where you have it almost installed. This swings out a little bit because there's only the upper supports are all the way at the firewall. So this shaft is being about, we'll say 3 feet long. It's an estimation. 3 feet long. It swings a little bit. So I swung it out into the wheel well, rotated it so that bolt, which is the cross bolt that locks it to the input shaft on the steering box, line that bolt up with the cross shaft, put this on the shaft, on the input shaft of the box, and then swung the box up, and then installed these 2 bolts first, because these were the easy ones to install because I didn't need 2 hands because the nuts were captured. So I hand started these bolts to hold the box up, threw this bolt in, and then put the nut on the back of it. And then, so then I torqued that all down. Torque for these bolts here is like 50 to 70 foot-pounds. I ran it down with my Ooga Dooga gun. I probably gave it one too many Ooga Doogas, because when I put my torque wrench on them, I started at like 60. And it clicked immediately, so out of curiosity I turned it up to 70 and it still clicked immediately. So these are probably over torqued. So Ooga Dooga gun, one less Ooga. After I got that box on, I went ahead and turned the steering wheel, because this will just free spin, or it'll spin it till it locks anyways. spin, and then I had it so the cross bolt was pointing up and down, and then I could tighten the top and the bolt and the nut on the cross bolt from out here in the wheel well instead of trying to reach in the engine compartment on one side and the bolt on the other, or if I rotated it all the way around, nut on the outside, bolt on the other. I had the bolt up and down, and I could put wrenches on them right here outside the wheel well. After I got that torqued down, that I didn't bother to look up the torque spec on. I just went ahead and torqued it till tight. After that, I went and jumped in the truck, turned the steering wheel lock to lock, and I had about, I think, 6.5 turns from lock to lock. So I went lock to lock, 6.5 turns, brought it back 3 turns when the steering wheel was pretty much perfectly horizontal based on the spokes of the wheel. I could undo the wheel and clock it if I needed to. After I got the box centered, basically by doing that, it's lock to lock and cutting it, lock to lock, finding out the locks, cutting it, that number in half centers the box. So when I centered this box in the shaft, I attached the pitman arm, which I just had laying up here on the. This is technically the drag link, and that's a track bar. I've been calling them back the wrong things in the other videos. This drag link, I had it just sitting up here on the drag link, so I swung the pitman arm, or actually it was probably back there on the track bar, swung it back around, put it on here, and it actually bolted on. So I must have had it pretty well lined up and squared up, because I didn't have to try to rotate the wheels or tires or anything to clock it for the 4 splines. There's basically a 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and you could rotate the pitman shaft 90 degrees, then get you your put it to get it on. So I had it pretty well in the correct orientation. I slid this on, put the nut and washer on. Torque specs for this is 150 to 200 foot-pounds. I went ahead and put this at 175. I ran it down with the Ooga Dooga machine. This time I didn't give it too many Ooga Doogas, and then I went and put my torque wrench on it and clicked it down, click style. Torqued it down to 175 foot-pounds. It took a couple swings. Not easy to do when you're laying on the ground. After I buttoned that up, I cleaned up, and then I went and greased all the outer tie rod, the drag link, and the other drag link, inner drag link ball socket, and then the outer tie rod at the wheel. Everything took about 2 pumps, except for this one up here took 4. I have discovered, I think if I unload the suspension just right, I have a little bit of movement in this ball socket here, which is unfortunate because this is the very, very long drag link, and I haven't found a source for it. Well, actually, I think I might have a source for it, but it's not exactly cheap. We're talking like $350 for a tie rod. So that is where we're at there. I'll come out and show you the steering wheel and from the inside the truck, and show you how that there's, even after all put together, I still have a little bit of play. Alright, let's try to shrink this down so you can get it. Whoa, wrong way. So, wheels centered, steering wheel is centered. This is what I meant earlier when I said the spokes of the steering wheel. So I went and counted left turn, right, all the way to, so I went all the way to the left, went all the way to the right, counted the number of revolutions, full revolutions. That's where I got my 6.5 from, and then brought it back 3 revolutions, and the wheel was right here. Bolted everything together. now that it's all bolted together, you'll notice I still have, well, what I think is way too much lash. So if I were to come all the way over to here, mark my steering wheel, kind of using my gear shift. So this spoke here is at the bottom of my gear shift knob. That's all the way to the lock where I've got resistance. Now if I go all the way to the other side, there's where I got resistance. If I were to measure from the bottom of that spoke to where my finger is, we're talking, what, 4 inches, maybe 5? This is what, an 18-inch steering wheel? Kind of a little excessive in my opinion. I'll have to ask Redhead Steering how much is, talk to them about that. I'll flip the camera around. So, steering box no longer pops when you turn it, rock it back and forth. The pitman shaft, output shaft, no longer pops. So I fixed that problem. My road test on this still have a vibration. My biggest complaint right now is the amount of steering effort. The C bushings that I put in this, which was my first fix, or first attempt at fixing the steering vibration problem, was to install the C bushings. I went that route first because I had the parts, and the bushings that were in the front end of this truck were pretty much the original bushings. The bushing kit that I happen to have, which was an energy suspension kit that came with the truck when I bought it, unfortunately was a kit for 7 degrees positive caster. And the reason the guy had bought a kit for 7 degrees positive caster is because he was going to put a 6-inch lift on this truck. His plans for this truck was the 460 swap it and put a 6-inch lift. I didn't want the 460 and I didn't want the 6-inch lift, but he included the bushing kit. I wasn't going to complain. I had it, I threw it in. That was a mistake. And I'll explain that further in the next video. So the video that follows this will be me explaining what the 7 degree caster bushing, what it does, and how it creates an issue, and then why I will be replacing it. I ordered a 2 degree bushing kit for it. So energy suspension, ordered a 2 degree bushing kit. Rock Auto, by the way, is the cheapest place to get those. Ordered the bushing kit for it. I'll replace the bushings. I went with 2 degrees because 2 degrees is for 0 to 2 inches of lift, and I don't plan on lifting this truck. It's just not, I don't need it. That's not what it's just not my thing. And then we'll see how it behaves after I do or how the truck drives, basically, after I do the C bushings again. I did them, I think, originally back in July of 2024. It was hotter than hell. It was like a 100-degree day, and I was doing it on my concrete driveway in the full sun. It sucked. Right now, it's not that hot. I'll probably do it also in the concrete driveway because I don't want to try to jack up this truck on gravel. So it shouldn't be as hot, and hopefully it won't take me as long because I'll know I've done it once before. So just a matter of remembering everything. But we'll get those bushings replaced. Worst case scenario, those bushings replaced, it may improve some things, but it may not solve it. I don't know. I'm hoping it solves it, but it'll probably reduce the steering effort that this truck requires, which is part of the reason why I haven't been driving it a whole lot. As always, thanks for watching. Make sure you click, like, share, comment below. Tell me whatever you need to tell me. Correct me on the information I may have gotten wrong. I don't mind. Go back and make sure you see the first video, and make sure you see the next video. The next video may or may not already be filmed. So, once again, thanks for watching.